Good morning, all. Today is the morning of the 26th of June, 2025. I have 2 or 3 hours I can give to working on my car this morning before I got to head out and do some work. Um, so the transmission is just about ready to come out. I had put that block of wood between the transmission jack and the transmission since this jack doesn't quite have enough reach to get up there all the way. Hopefully that goes smoothly. I think it'll be fine. The only thing I have left to do, I believe, is to disconnect the cross member, 6 bolts total on each side of the frame, and I should be able to wiggle it out of there and lower it on the jack. So we'll see how this goes.
All right, we're now underneath the car. I have removed the cross member supporting bolts here. You can see where they were, holding that up with the transmission mounts. The jack is securely holding it up. The last thing I need to do before I can get it out of there is disconnect the cooling lines. You can see one right up here, and there's another one up front here. So I've got my wrenches to break those loose, and if I need to, I think I can lower the transmission a little bit because those lines do flex if I need more room. But this back one looks pretty easy to get to. It's the one up here, closer up front, that's a little tougher to reach. But so I'm gonna work on getting those loose, and once they're loose, we'll try to lower the transmission. All right, so getting the lines detached actually was not bad at all. I seem to recall now that getting them reattached later is the tricky part. So I am ready now to try lowering the stack a little bit, see what happens. I'm not going to lower it much, especially if it doesn't move. Um, I may have to use a screwdriver to help pry this cross member loose, even though the side bolts are off. It's a tight fit, so I might have to pry, help that down. Might also have to pry between the transmission bell housing and the engine in case there's any sticking there. I don't think there will be because this transmission hasn't been mounted to this engine for even 2 years yet, so I don't expect any problems there. So I don't know if I want to try this with the camera running, but let's do it. Let's see what happens when I lower the jack a little bit. See what happens. Okay, it is coming loose from the end all by itself. That's a good thing. All right, that's good. So I don't know. I'm gonna go on top of the engine and make sure it's separating from the engine before I just let the bottom just drop too much. So I'll keep going with that. All right, good news. So you can clearly see a gap there between the bell housing and the engine. That means that I did manage to get all the mounting bolts removed. So I'm going to go back under the car and continue to slowly lower and pull that transmission out. All right, as you can see, we are well on our way out of there. I did have to use a pry bar on top to help break it loose from the engine a little bit, but that didn't take too much effort. The rear end came down just fine. I've made sure I'm not hanging up on anything. So we're just going to watch this thing slowly descend on its own now. I've had to periodically pull back on the jack a little bit because it's going down. It wants to go forward. So there you go. You can see it lowering itself down, looking good. This out of the way. There we go. Okay, just gonna let her go down all the way, and then from there, I'll have to see about getting her out. It looks like I should just be able to go forward with it instead of worrying about going through the side. I'm not sure why I didn't think of that before. I think Brian was the one that clued me in on that, and I should be able to fit through the front wheel well. But anyway, I don't think it's down all the way yet. Let's see. Nope. Uh-oh, I better make sure it's not hanging up somewhere. I'll be back. All right, at last, success. There you see it, the old transmission. What I had to do, following Brian's advice, I actually slid it out right here. I had to temporarily raise the car a little bit to get it off that jack, move that jack stand out of the way so I could slide it out. And then I quickly repositioned it and got it back in place. I didn't show all that happening live. But anyway, I'm happy I got it out. So now I will begin the process. I'll do a little looking underneath first to make sure I don't see any obvious damage, any lines or anything like that before I start working on getting the replacement transmission in there. So here are the two transmissions side by side. The one that just came out of the vehicle, of course, and the one that's going to go in. So I pulled out the torque converter, have it sitting on the ground there. I wanted to lighten the weight before I yank it off the jack there, but I noticed it's very wet in here. A lot of transmission fluid. Um, don't I don't know if it was leaking from the seal or if it was leaking from down here, the front pump O-ring or something. I don't know. But that's probably where the majority, if not all, of my leakage is coming from. So now I'm just going to focus on switching out the mounts and any linkage I might need that's on here. The little vacuum line for the modulator valve. I don't even know if there's a modulator valve on the replacement. Uh, if there's not, then I'll just swap out the one that is on the old one because it's still fairly new. So that's my next step to get ready. I'm taking just a quick peek underneath the car here just to make sure I don't see anything amiss. Everything looks good. I don't see any evidence of oil leaks or water leaks or anything like that. So it all looks clean. My freeze plugs are still holding, and I don't see, like I said, no oil leaks from the back of the engine anyway. And that heater valve looks good still. So everything is good under here. There's no steering gear. It still looks nice and clean because that was a rebuilt unit. I spent a lot of money on. The brake booster still looks good from underneath. So I think we're good. I don't think anything else was leaking. So that's all I wanted to see under here. Just documenting a couple of differences between these two transmissions, which I find interesting because they're both from 66 Lincolns, 66 transmissions. You think they'd be completely identical, but there are some minor differences. One of them I just noticed is this little tube, which was on my old transmission I just took out. I'm used to seeing that tube. It's the end of it is behind the front pump, so you can't see it on this side. Some kind of overflow tube, I guess, or vent tube. Not really sure, but on this transmission that Brian rebuilt for me, it just has this little cap thing. It's just the same uh, opening, except there's no tube coming out of it. It's just this little cover. I mean, I'm sure it works the same way. I may try to see if I can wiggle that thing out of there without damaging it and putting it on this one. But if I can't get that out easily, I'm not going to worry about it. I don't think that's a big deal. Um, Also, because it's a 6 to 6, it has the reverse light switch. And I think that also functions as the neutral safety switch on a 66. It's mounted directly on the transmission. In this car, 67, that switch is actually mounted on the steering column. Um, but I'm going to leave it on there. I don't really feel like taking it off. I'm always afraid I might break something and just trying to remove it. So I'm just going to leave it. I have another one already, another spare, which probably came off of this transmission. I don't know, but I'll just tie up the wiring and keep it out of the way. And I've got the cross member there cleaned up with the mounts on it. Of course, the mounts are still in good shape. They're less than 2 years old, so I expected them to be fine. Thought there was something else. I guess not. Oh, this one does indeed have a vacuum modulator valve on it. I just didn't feel it before, so we're good there. So there really isn't that much that I have to swap, which is good. So I'm getting ready to offload this from the jack, store it in the corner somewhere, and put that one on the jack. So I got the little cap off here, and it looked like it would unscrew, but it's not threaded. It does turn, but I could not get it out. And I tried and I tried, and I decided, for all I know, there might be a retaining clip on the inside of that, inside the housing, and I'm not about to take it apart to look. There's no need for that. So since it has a different kind of design that probably works just fine, I'm just going to put that little cap back on and move on before I break something. Just to wrap up this video real quick so I can get it posted. I was not able to get the replacement transmission lifted up onto that jack by myself. So I will get help from my roommate next time I see him awake. He can help me with that on there, and then I can move on toward installation. But I feel pretty good about what I've gotten done so far. Now it's time to go to work. Have a good day.